You have a bunch of different options in this. One of the things with PSE is they have not only 2 different sizes, so like in the RVX you have a 2, a 4, and a 6. In the Evolve DS, which is their main line, you have a 30 and a 33. But then you also have an Omen, which is a short brace height, super fast bow. And then you also have their carbon options as well. I think where we should start with this then is let's get a Evolve DS 33 set up. Do you like camo with bronze or do you like the gray with black?
I like the gray with black.
The gray with black? Okay. And you pick a gray elite and we're gonna have the team gray up there. That's gonna be awesome. Because you do have an adjustable mod system on here versus having to switch out mods.
Okay.
There's upsides and downsides to both. Switching out mods, they tend to be a little bit more efficient because that mod is specifically for that draw length, made to be like as high a performance as it can for that draw length. Whereas this, you have a rotating mod system, so you do lose a little bit of performance on these, but you get the ease of use of not having to have every mod in the world.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
yep.
This one you can play around with and adjust a little bit easier. Mr. Elite.
I think I like that one.
You like that one? The Ethos is going to be a little bit higher performance because it's got a little bit more of a, I'm not going to call it radical, but it's just got a little bit different cam design here that's going to give you a bit better, more energy production. Versus on the Kairos is a little bit smoother. So yeah, I feel like we should set both of them up just so you can kind of compare the two, and we can also check the speeds on both of them and see what see which one you like better. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. Adjusting 1/4 inch draw length. John just has.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing. And then a ton of tunability on these because you have this set system up here. So instead, like we were talking before on the PSE and the Prime, how you have shims to shim the cam back and forth for tuning, on this, you actually can adjust the whole pocket, which will do the same thing. Okay. And you can do that on the top and the bottom on this. Let's go run in the back. Let's take all 3 of these and let's go shoot them through the chrono, and I want to see which one of them ends up being faster.
Right there?
Yep, right about there. Send her through. Okay. 284 with a 495 grain arrow.
That's pretty good.
Yep. That's definitely the quietest. 266. So you were 68, 66, and 84.
Nice.
So I think the draw length definitely helped on that one, but
yep.
I don't think we're going to build arrows that are this heavy, but that's a good starting point. And
yep.
We'll kind of go from there now that we have the bows picked out. Sweet. When you're picking out a sight, there's a few things that you need to decide. Well, the first thing you need to decide is, for your application, do you want fixed pins or do you want a movable sight? I'd say out west, 95% of what we sell is movable, just because it's just the nature of the beast out here. What have you used in the past?
The black gold.
Montana black gold.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you liked about it, and maybe some of the things that you didn't like about it?
The 3-pin.
Okay.
And
that's a good choice.
Just like with the, like you were saying with the slider, with it being movement, with animals, you know, moving all the time and being able to change it that quickly, and having the 3-pin, so if you don't want to change it, you have that. Yep. That reference there. So
the way that I look at it, we carry CBE, we carry Montana Black Gold, we carry Spot Hog, Dialed, UV, Redline is another company that we have that we brought on. We have the knock-on Spot Hog series as well, and B3s. So we have a plethora of different options here. This is your workhorse. You can get the micro adjustability on it, but if you don't go the micro adjustability, like their standard one is the Ascent Verdict, the thing is bulletproof. It's been around forever. Track that thing through the mud. You can run it over. I mean, they have a full lifetime warranty on it, so if anything ever happens to it, they'll replace it. But you don't get some of the, you know, the finer adjustments and things of that nature. So when you're talking about your windage, your left and right adjustment, on these ones, they're all manual. You go to something like the CBE, you're going to have micro adjust on essentially all of the different aspects of the sight. And then you have the option too, you can do a dovetail mount, so you can move the sight in and out. And then you can do a standard mount, which keeps it at just one distance. But then you also have the option of the Picatinny, which is kind of a popular thing now, or even the Matthews has their bridge lock type systems. So lots of different options as far as that goes. So what's more important to you though? Is it durability? Is it the adjustability? What do you think in your experiences out in the woods is going to be more beneficial for you?
I would definitely go with the durability.
Okay.
And, you know, something that's been proven and
Okay.
can take a beating. I mean, being up here in the Wasatch and being all over the place, you want to go with something that's strong and dependable.
I agree wholeheartedly. No, that's a good one. And the one thing I love about it too, the price point on the Ascent Verdict, it's $280. It's really hard to find anything under $300 now that's a good piece of equipment. You want to make sure when you're fitting your peep sight that it is something that is repeatable for you every single time. So whether it be lining up 2 circles perfectly, whether you need a little bit of space around the scope housing with your peep to be able to center it, that's up to you. But what that allows you to do on the dovetail is bring that in and out, which is going to change how big the scope looks in your sight picture. We can go with a dovetail mount on one of these or the mountain light. Which do you think would be better for you? Having that adjustability in and out, or having the indicator for both pins?
I like the indicator for both pins.
Okay.
Was it this one that you were saying?
Yes.
That has the third adjustable? Yeah, I like that.
You like that one? Okay. Well, let's run with that then.
Cool.
So we're going to do the black gold mountain light dual track system. Cool. Sweet. Upsides and downsides to it. The nice thing about a limb driven rest though is you don't need a press to be able to work on them. So if you're in the backcountry and something happens and you snap your string, or something happens to the string on your arrow rest, I've literally seen guys take shoelaces and you can make it work, right?
Well, I like to be able to have my arrow there locked in, ready to go without having to worry about it falling off, making any of that kind of stuff. So that's what I would want to lean towards.
Gotcha.
But you're obviously way more savvy about this than me, so I want to go with what you think would be best. So.
Well, we Hamski. You're getting a Hamski no matter what, Lefty.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we'll just do those across the board for you guys.
Okay.
The difference between these, the Epsilon and so actually we probably will just do Everest, because the difference between these is really micro adjust. And if you guys are just bringing it to me for me to work on it for you, you shouldn't need the micro adjust really, because once we get it set, we'll just lock it down and you'll be good to go. But yeah, no, I set everything up so it's pretty solid, because when I'm trying to get a reaction out of a bow, I want to see what it's going to react like when it's fully set up. Right. You can do a standard, there's just your standard, whatever peep. I like the Hamski Raptor peep, because it gives you kind of this, it's a barreled peep, so what it does is when you have a longer peep like that and it's barreled, it helps so if you get light from the side, it actually refracts it inside of it so it doesn't get to your pupil and distort the dilation on your pupil, which distorts the image that you're looking at, so it can cause left and rights. I like 3/16 is my favorite size, but we can kind of play around with that.
3/16 is what I've had on mine.
Is it? Okay, cool. It's actually more critical to get this as low as possible, but you want it to tune. So you can't make it so low that it won't tune, but you want to get it as low as possible, because if you think about it, when you go to shoot, the higher this arrow is up here, if you pivot left or right at all, it's amplified the higher up you get. So the closer you get it to your hand, the less those little movements will take effect. But most bows tune with the arrow somewhere around middle, bottom of the shaft through the middle of the burger hole.
So what are you looking for right there?
Point entered here, and the arrow was kicked up ever so slightly high right. That's what make that tear. So you can either move the arrow rest to the left. I try to keep the arrow rest in the same spot if I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to move we're going to shim it a little bit different. And that's where this 220 system is going to come in handy. So let's go in here and we'll put this in the press. People a lot of times talk about cam lean like it's a bad thing. I mean, do you want your cam leaning so excessively that you jump your string track and that? No, obviously not. But having a little bit of cameling is not a bad thing. Like it's in fact, when you do that, you're actually doing stuff to tune the bow and make the arrows fly better. So don't be scared of that stuff. It was just somewhere pointed around in that area there. We still have just a little bit of a high tear, and the way that you'll tell this is if you look that fletching tear, see how these two are like about perfect? That one's a little shorter, but it's kind of hard to see. You would almost think that that was a perfect tear, but I can tell that it's a little high because that's just a smidge on the shorter side. So we want to bring that down just a skosh. I think we got most of the right that we're going to get out of it that we need. So let's just bump, what we're going to do is bump your arrow rest up just a skosh just to level that out. And I think we should be right there.
And you were saying like for users though too, it could be me torquing
Could be,
one way
yep.
or the other?
Yep, so that's a great question. So if you have hand torque to the inside, you're typically going to throw more of a left tear. And if you have a hand grip to the outside, you're typically going to throw more of a right tear.
Looks pretty solid, right? Yeah. That looks good.
I'm going to level up. Make sure that the string is level, both left to right, front to back. And they don't necessarily need to be level, you just have to make them even. So if you can't get it perfectly level, just make sure that that level matches that level and it's golden. Up above, and then we want to roll this down. We want to check it down below, just to make sure that it's the same on both. So now what we know is that is traveling in a perfectly vertical line. Instead of like if it was kicked like slightly to the left and as you go down, you'd start hitting to the right. But there's two things that can make you do that, and that's why you need to eliminate this first, because then, have you ever heard of a thing called walk back tuning or French tuning? Okay, so you shoot an arrow at 20 yards at a target, walk back to 25, aim at the same spot with the same pin, shoot an arrow, and obviously it's going to drop. Then you go back to 30, and then you see which way it drops. If it drops in a straight line, then your arrow rest is in line with your string path. Excuse me, that it's going through. If it's not, if it's off to the left or off to the right, you move the arrow rest to pull it back into in line. So then that way you're not chasing your dick all over, you know, thinking at long distances I got to move it left, short distances I got to move it right, you know. Just keeping all that stuff in alignment is key. So the next thing that we're going to do is check your third axis. Now, I will say this until I'm blue in the face. You cannot check your third axis without this bow being at full draw. Anytime you see those machines that they put them on, like they take the side off and put them on and bolt them up, it don't work. Because these risers do not stay perfectly in line when you pull them back. When you pull them back, there's torque to them. They'll move left or right a little bit, and so what you're trying to do is level that out to the way that your bow torques at full draw. And then what you want to do is make sure that you mount your third axis, the thing that you're third axising, away from where the third axis is. So what I mean by that, if I put this up here on this head, this thing adjusts its third axis from here. So if I put that up here and I move this, it's just going to move it with it, right? So I have to mount it back here where it's not making the movement, which is kind of harder on these.
It's called a drawboard.
So when you come back like this, see how that peak is facing straight down at the sight. If it was in, so you remember I told you they're completely pliable, full draw? If you drew a line straight down, you know, and end up there. Okay, cool. So go with that, and then okay. Now, we're going to set this to you. What I want you to do is draw it back. I want you to close your eyes, then come into your anchor point, and then get good and settled and open them. And when you open them, do not move your head. If you can't see through it, just tell me which way it needs to go, okay? Can you see through that and see your...
I can see everything.
Okay. Does it seem like somewhere you like it?
It looks
Do you want it up, down, anything like that?
And actually, honestly, it looks pretty damn dead center to me.
Cool. There's several big brands out there. The ones that we carry are Gold Tip, Easton, and then Victory, and then we also have Ultra, which is a new one that the Outdoor Group is making. That's the company that builds elite bows. They're all spectacular arrows. They all kind of have their 4mm, 5mm, 6mm options. So that is what I find is the best thing to start it with is what diameter do we want to go with. There's advantages and disadvantages to all of them. Your standard, which has kind of been around the longest, is going to be your 6.5mm, your gold tip pro hunter. I'm sure everybody's shot either a pro hunter or a warrior, you know, or a hunter arrow at some point in time. The thing that I like about that is that shaft is tried, true, and it's been around forever. So you never have to worry about having any inconsistencies with it. It's just kind of that workhorse, right? Disadvantage to it being a little bit larger diameter is it does have more surface area. So when you're shooting in the wind, more surface area means it's just got more area that, you know, wind can affect it. You go to a 5mm arrow. This is where I land personally. I shoot the Rip TKO from Victory. I also really like the Easton Axis, is a super great arrow, and so is the Kinetic Chaos from Gold Tip. They're all really good arrows. Okay, so the way that these arrows are rated, they're rated in a straightness tolerance, right? 0.001 straightness factor, 0.003, 0.006, and the higher that number gets, the less straight the arrow is. And what they're done is they have a laser that they go down. They'll go down the line, they'll cut a section of the arrow, it'll get hit by a laser, and the laser will tell you what the straightness tolerance is on it, and then it'll just get thrown into a bin, and that's how you get your different levels of arrow, right? So like a warrior and a hunter is the exact same tube of carbon. They're just cut, and then what happens is if it's a .006, it gets dropped into the warrior bin. If it's a .003, it gets dropped into the XT bin, and if it's a .001, it gets dropped into the pro bin. When you go to a 4mm, just everything gets that much more critical. So if you don't build those things 100% perfect, you're going to see a lot more variances than you would in a 5mm or a 6mm. This end can be wonky. It doesn't matter because it doesn't travel along the arrow rest, and it's not the part that's accepting the energy from the bow. If this side isn't square, this is where you have all the problems. Everything in archery, most critical parts of archery are all back here, not up here. Having these squared off, having good components on the back end, having good nocks and all that. See, I love a system where you can just put a nock straight into the shaft. That's one less piece that you have to worry about.
Cool. That's a lot of info that I had no idea about. So that's great.
No idea.
Any other questions on this stuff?
What am I going to kill my next animal with?
I've always shot gold tips, but
Okay, so
I'll
gold
shoot whatever.
tip.
I don't care.
I think we
Easton
need to try those
Victory.
See you later.